Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd call the Planning and Economic Development Committee to order at 11:01 on June 17th. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Thank you. Are there any corrections to the minutes from May 19th or May 27th? Okay, seeing none, the minutes are approved. Thank you again, everyone who attended our public hearing and special meeting on May 27th. It was great to hear from schools, elected officials, and residents on the future of economic development, and the audio recordings and notes are online. So the first item on our agenda today is the Director of Community Development, Martin Scannon, to present the 2026 Action Plan for the Community Development Block Grant, Home Grant, and Emergency Solution Grant programs.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming to our first steering committee meeting and getting a feel for what we're doing. The second one was a lot shorter, so you didn't really miss a lot. So I am here today to request the legislature's approval of the spending plans for CDBG, home, and ESG funding that we received from HUD for the 2026. So just as a reminder, these are entitlement grants that are awarded without any competition. So they're not like our lead grant where we have to apply and wait to see if we win or lose. They're determined by HUD based on a formula assessing need. So we have a steering committee that meets twice during the process. The first meeting is where we present all of the proposed applications. And then the second one is where we answer any questions from the first one, and then they vote on awarding the projects and awarding funding. So the CDBG Community Development Block Grant Program, we send applications to every municipality and give them a time frame on applying for funding, and then when they come in, we review all those applications. The home funding is funds that we use for internal programs that HUD sponsors, like our Shape Up program is funded through the home program. And then the emergency solutions grants, that funding is, we send applications to agencies who work with the homeless population, and then we award our money based on what we receive back. My department compiles all the applications to present to the committee. And then, as you can see on you all have, I think, a copy of the budget, the proposed budget. You can see that the funding was relatively flat. The block grant went up $65,000. The home grant went up $53,000. And the ESG grant came down $322. So it was relatively flat for the cycle. We were able to award every municipality who applied a project. So there was no one who was turned away. There was no one who had anything reduced for what they applied for. Everybody who applied got the funding they requested for the project that they wanted to do. And you also have a list of all the projects that were awarded. And then on the bottom is the fair housing. We're required to spend a portion of our community development block grant funding on fair housing initiatives every year when we get funding. So we spend money, we provide funding to Arise and CMY Fair Housing. And those are the two agencies in the bottom, which is the funding amounts that they receive every year. And then, as I said, the list of all the municipalities with their projects, and you can see that they requested $837,500 in funding. They matched it with $530,207 of matching funds. So the total impact from the HUD funds will be just under $1.4 million. That's pretty much everything, and I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
I had a couple questions. So with the action plan, I know it goes from 2025 to 2029. Does that get updated annually, or is it more like this is the general plan and then each year we're funding different projects?
It gets updated annually, and what happens is the steering committee meets in May and determines what they want to do. Then I come over here and ask the legislature to approve it. All the municipalities, before they submit their applications, have to do a public hearing, and then the boards have to vote on submitting the application. So that's the process to screen it through the community. Then when we get it, we have to come to the legislature and have them vote on, hopefully approve what we want to do. And then that allows us to file the action plan with HUD. And then the action plan gets filed every year. It gets approved usually around sometime in the fall, October-ish. And then we submit our consolidated plan, which the action plan is a portion of that.
Okay.
Kind of a rolling 5 years.
Rolling. Okay.
Correct. Correct.
Great. Any other questions? Oh, yeah. Chairwoman?
Hello. Do you receive a number of applications that were not approved and not included? How does that typically look in a
We
given
were
year?
able to fund everybody who applied, were funded at
Excellent.
the full amount that they applied for.
Did they go through and relook at some of the census grids? Or
Yes. They,
I noticed a lot of areas in my neck of the woods that used to be eligible
Mhm.
aren't
Right.
aren't this year.
correct. So the,
If you could explain the process.
okay, so so the way the process works for a community development block grant, there's different things you can use it for. So most municipalities use it for either infrastructure or parks, redoing parks and other things. But the way it works is that the entire county is divided into census tracts. And for the money to be eligible to spend in a census tract, 51% of the people who live there have to be at 80% average median income or lower, annual median income or lower. Because Onondaga County is considered an exception grantee because we don't have enough census tracts in our county that would qualify for that. So they apply an exception grantee percentage to us, and that makes census tract eligible. For many years, they used the American Community Survey, HUD does, from 2006 to 2015 as the determinant of what our exception grantee percentage was, and that was 38.59%. So if 38.59% of the people in a tract were under 80% AMI, then you could spend money in that census tract for a project. They started using the 2016 to 2020 American Community Survey 2 years ago, and that raised our percentage to 44.5%. So a number of municipalities that had census tracts that were eligible before are no longer eligible.
Right.
Which doesn't mean that they can't get a project, because if you have a playground that's not in an eligible census tract, if you're going to implement inclusive playground equipment, then that's an allowable expense regardless of what the income is of the census
Senior
tract.
centers.
And senior centers are considered gathering spaces for lower income people. So a senior center is eligible regardless of what the census tract it's in is percentage is at.
But they recently updated that, obviously.
They did. They did it 2 years ago and didn't tell us. And luckily we funded, everybody was still eligible.
Yeah.
But then this year, we got the information that it was. And so we were able to readjust all the maps so that it went out. When we send them applications to municipalities, we send them a map of their municipality that shows all the eligible census tracts in it.
I don't think a lot of people understand it or how it functions. And then, kind of a discussion on data centers afterwards. So for the county planning board, I brought Megan Costa, who is deputy director of the planning department, kind of the institutional history on the planning side of our planning department to explain it all.
Now I feel old. Okay, so I've got a quick PowerPoint. Sorry if this is dry, it just is. But just sort of your County Planning Board 101 class.
Oh,
Got it. All right. Oh, there we go. Gotcha. Okay, so what is the Onondaga County Planning Board? So Onondaga County Planning Board operates under New York State General Municipal Law. And we are established, the board is established to advise local boards on the potential intermunicipal or countywide impacts of land use decisions. So those terms are pretty important, intermunicipal and countywide impacts. That's sort of the guise under which we operate. Couple other functions of the county planning board. The board reviews the county's capital improvement plan once a year prior to it going to the ledge for approval. And the board also reviews street name changes that go through the 911 system and the planning department. If you're requesting a change to an established street name, it needs to go through our board. We hold a public hearing to approve those changes. New street names don't need to go to the board level. Those are coordinated with a street names review committee of 911 and planning department staff, just FYI.
If I could ask a quick question on that. Is that street names that are county-owned roads?
Any roads.
So any road within the
Mostly
county?
911 function, coordination with post offices, and just to ensure good addressing throughout the county.
So it's not only up to the town, the county does have to get, and the planning board has to be involved if the town chooses to make a change. Thank you.
Okay, so the planning board has 7 members, 5 of which are appointed by the county executive and confirmed by the legislature. And then we have 2 ex officio members, the county DOT and the county comptroller. And the county Department of Planning provides staff services to support the board's activities. So we receive and review all of the referrals, we call them, the cases that we get from the municipalities. We coordinate every cycle with a number of agencies, state and county agencies primarily, and county departments, and we incorporate guidance and recommendations from county planning documents and municipal planning documents into the board reports for consideration. So we provide that staff service to the board. Come on. Next. Sorry. Okay, so how is the planning board different from local planning boards? It definitely functions quite a bit differently than your typical planning board acts at the local municipal level. The biggest difference is that our resolutions of our board are non-binding. We sort of have the power of suggestion only. It's a recommendation as to what we think the municipality should do with a project. So I'll go through the different types of recommendations we can offer in a later slide. But just know that our resolutions are not binding. It takes a supermajority to override a disapproval or a modification recommendation. Otherwise, they can just act as they wish. We do not have public hearings at our board level. Our applicants are the municipalities themselves. They're referring cases to us. So our interaction is with municipal staff. So we don't have public hearings. We don't invite applicants to our meetings. We don't have applicant presentations happening or that big dialogue happening the way it does in that interactive process that happens at the local level. Planning board doesn't see every case that goes to a municipality. They have to meet 2 separate criteria in order for them to need to refer it to the county planning board, and I'll have a slide on that as well. We do see up to 500 cases a year from up to 100 boards. So we've got 36 municipalities, we've got a municipal board, a planning board, and a zoning board of appeals. We see cases from all 3 of those boards. So we're well over 100 local boards at the end. Due to our caseload and timing, we have a limited number of hours to spend on each case. So whereas a municipality will spend weeks or months on a case, we literally have about 2 to 3 hours per case typically to spend reviewing a case that goes through our board process just by virtue of the cycle and our caseload. So recommendations are typically, we're on a 3-week sort of board meeting cycle. Most of our cases get referred to us on the deadline date, of course. So we are typically returning our cases within 10 to 15 days. So when people talk about the lengthy local review process, county planning board is a slight exception to that. We're in and out within 10 days, usually within that process. So we're sort of proud of that.
A question?
Yeah.
The non-binding recommendations, is it ever that the municipality goes against the recommendation, and what happens?
Yes, so they need a supermajority vote to override our recommendations if they disagree with something that we put in our disapproval or modification recommendation.
Yes, ma'am.
So if they've got, difference of opinion on whether they need to abide by something that we say, they just need a simple majority vote of their board to override that. They have to provide their reasoning back to us
Okay.
after the fact and tell us why they disagreed with us and overrode our recommendation. That happens very rarely.
I figure.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
it's pretty atypical. We do not offer a lot of disapprovals, sort of somewhat because of the thresholds, the intercommunity countywide impacts. We're not just looking at the same
Got it.
impacts as localities are. So a small parking issue or access thing, we're not going to disapprove based on that. It needs to be sort of a fatal flaw kind of thing about it. So typically, if we've got a
Make sure
fatal
you're
flaw,
speaking into the
oh,
mic.
sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah. So typically they agree with our recommendations. Sometimes, however, they'll override it or they'll say this has been addressed already and sort of proceed on their way. But it's more rare than you would think.
A lot of times
Yeah.
it's not just a yes or no, it's this is how we think maybe you can do it better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's,
Yeah, that's
that's
the
the good
function we
part.
prefer to play in this process. So we'll get to that.
have you thought about this?
Right.
or that?
Yeah. Yeah, so the last point on this slide is municipalities are often relying on our feedback, especially our coordinating agencies. They offer all of their permitting requirements up front. They give a heads up like, listen, there's some wastewater issues in this area. It may take a bit for you to get your capacity assurance. So just heads up that you guys need to work with us on this issue or this driveway isn't going to fly. So we're going to need to coordinate on a different site plan sort of to accommodate that kind of stuff. So some of these bigger issues, we give them a heads up. We tell them about what the requirements may be. We often get cases pretty early in the the local review process. So a lot of those details sometimes aren't totally hashed out and site plans change and evolve throughout the local review. But they use us at the very beginning to like lay everything out on the table that could be an issue. And they rely on us to sort of be the heavy bad guy sometimes. So they don't always hate the fact that we modify or disapprove a project. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I mentioned in the last slide, there's two criteria that are used to determine whether a municipality has to send us a case or not. So the first criteria is the type of action. So these are actions from local boards related to zoning and subdivisions in a general sense. So comprehensive plans, changes to your zoning or subdivision regulations, site plans, special permits, variances, subdivisions, and then certain other authorizations. There's some other stragglers in there, but not too big of a deal. So they have to have one of those types of actions. They also have to meet the locational criteria. So they have to be within 500 feet of one of these items on the list. So it has to be within 500 feet of a boundary of a municipal boundary. It has to be within 500 feet of a state or county park or established recreational area. The most common trigger is within proximity of a state or county road or highway, or a stream or drainage channel owned by the county. Boundary of any county or state-owned land containing a public building or institution. A lot of the city referrals that we get hit that trigger. Or the boundary of an active farm operation enrolled in the New York State Ag Districts program. So that we get a lot of ag projects because of that trigger. So I don't know what the exact percentage of how many cases we see, but we see a lot of cases based on just being on a state or county highway. And we tend to see the bigger cases because of these triggers, and sort of the smaller, more local projects fall off if they're on a local road. They're usually smaller projects anyways. So that's the criteria of what we're getting in this grand scheme. Next slide. Okay. So now once we get a case sent to us by a municipality, they say we've met that locational criteria, the type of action. They send us a case, then we go through this process where we decide what type of review are we doing. We now have 3 different types of review that we have at the local or at the board level. This is partially, so we used to send everything that we'd receive for full board votes. In an effort to streamline the process, to reduce some caseload and take out some of those actions that we know aren't going to result in any type of recommendation from us, we have 2 sort of other types of reviews. So first is an administrative review. We've identified a certain amount of actions that typically we don't have any strong opinions about from an intermunicipal or countywide impact perspective. A lot of variances and things like that, like stormwater variances, and those are local concerns. Those aren't really elevating to that level. So we say we can handle those at the staff level. We don't really need to involve the full board unless we think it's an important project. We can absolutely send it up to the board. But so the board has delegated certain types of actions down to a staff review. So instead of waiting for the 10-day cycle, we can just prepare a quick memo and send it back to the municipality within a matter of days, sometimes even the same day. So that's, a lot of the municipalities really appreciate that, especially when they forget to send us stuff and need something at the last minute. It's great. Yeah, so that's a way to sort of expedite and sort of streamline the process. We also have a more formal exemption agreements on file with each of the municipalities in Onondaga County. We finally, is the first time ever, as of a couple months ago, we've got every municipality has an intermunicipal agreement with the county. So that was signed by the county executive and authorized by the county legislature as well. So we have a list of actions that have been determined to be exempt from any type of planning board review for the county. So that's sort of taken about 20% of our caseload sort of off the docket of really inconsequential, like lower level than the administrative reviews or the exempt actions. They're like, yeah, like a shed in your backyard kind of actions, signage, things like that. That's really of entirely local concern. So that has really streamlined our reviews in a huge way. Yeah, so we've now got updated exemption agreements for all 36 municipalities, which is great. Yeah, so to the next one. So what are we looking for when we're reviewing a referral? The board, what is the board acting based on? So this is determined by general municipal law. They outline what we're supposed to be looking at within that legislation. So we're, as I've said several times already, intercommunity and countywide impacts. And yeah, sort of put together a list of what that actually means. So compatibility of land uses with each other, traffic generation, traffic characteristics, impact on county or state institutions, protection of community character. That's a big one. Drainage is stormwater management is a big one. Community facilities, official municipal and county development policies. So that's where Plan Onondaga and our county comprehensive plan comes into play. And then the catch-all such other matters as we relate to public convenience, government efficiency, and achieving and maintaining a satisfactory environment. So just about it. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. So next slide. Okay, so here's the recommendations. So we have 5 different types of recommendations that we offer back to municipalities. So we prepare a full resolution for full board reviews. So we can offer approval, no position with comment, modification, or disapproval. If we're approving a project, we're saying this is fantastic, we love it, go forth, you did a great job. We often do that for comprehensive plans and zoning updates and things like that. We're pretty stingy with them. I don't know why, but we save those for the really special ones. No position. This is where we've reviewed the case. We don't find any intermunicipal community-wide impact. We don't really have anything to say about it. We offer no position. Go forth and do what you want at the local level. No position with comment. We don't have any intermunicipal or community-wide impacts, but here's some ideas on how you could make it better. We can't help ourselves. Sometimes we have suggestions on good community planning elements to incorporate into projects. So we offer those and offer some advice to localities via comments that we put in. So all 3 of those actions, the local boards can go forth and approve a project, disapprove a project, or whatever they want. Then you move into the modifications. So this basically means that we're okay with your project if you make a modification to your site plan to do X, Y, or Z. Yeah, you can change your zoning ordinance if you modify it in X way. So we do a lot of those. A lot of those pull in the permitting requirements. This is okay as long as you get your permits for your new driveways or authorizations from the health department or water environment protection. So conditional, it's basically a conditional improvement once you get your permits and satisfy the requirements of the permitting agencies and coordinating agencies. That's a decent amount of the modifications that we get is bringing in those regional stakeholder agencies and providing their. And then, as I said, disapprovals, we don't do a ton of them, barely at all. But those are the ones that we see fatal flaws. There's nothing you can really change about a project. Sorry. Should I turn this one off? Yeah. How's that? So disapprovals are the ones that really sort of involved. There's make it an approval. So we had once you've thought some more about it, or maybe not consider doing it at all, disapproving it at the local level. So those are the recommendations. Next slide. And this is just a quick overview of the process. So we have 30 days to review a project from nuts to bolts. Like I said, we usually get referrals towards the end of our submission period, so that 30 days usually shrinks down to about 2 weeks. So we get a referral, we determine it's complete, we submit it, prepare a staff report for the board. We have every 3 weeks, we have a coordination meeting with all of our coordinating agencies. Then we go to the board meeting for a full vote on the cases that require a board vote. We send municipalities back a resolution letting them know of our recommendations. And then, as I said, you can either proceed with certain cases with a simple majority, you can proceed with a supermajority for others. And then, as I also mentioned, part of the GML process is they need to then let us know how they acted on these cases with a report of final action, we call it. So they need to report back. We agreed with you, we didn't agree with you, we didn't agree with you, this is why. So we have that reporting back of why they disagreed with us. Next slide. Yeah, so something sort of aside from general municipal law that we've done over the years with varying levels of interest and success are coordinated review meetings. So we provide this as a service to municipalities for some of those bigger, more complicated cases. I mean, a lot of municipalities just don't have planning staff to get underneath some of these big, more complex projects. So we provide a service. We can convene a meeting. Stakeholders that we meet with regularly, bring them to the municipality and sit down with the applicant and the coordinating agencies and really talk through a project at the early stages of a project so that everybody's sort of on the same information and trying to coordinate on the details for board review going forward. So we've got municipalities that take advantage of that process and we find value in it.
Do you have like any examples of ones that have been coordinated or how many you get in a year?
We only get a couple a year. Most recently, we've worked with the town of Clay on some larger projects. No surprise. Yeah. Yeah, next slide. And that's it. So a lot of this information you can find, we actually have a guide to planning board referrals document on our website. We post all of our agendas and stuff on our department website. This is all available to view. So if you got any questions, you can dig into that document or just ask us.
For the coordinating review, is there any documents that are produced from that, or is it just more helping them with the process?
We usually put together some meeting minutes and share it with the attendees of the meeting. And then they typically get attached to the resolutions that get sent out to municipalities once the planning board.
Okay. Any other questions? Dan?
Hi, thank you. What's the relationship with the city? Is it any different with all of this, or is it all?
Oh, they're one of the 36 municipalities. Obviously, I mean, we used to be a joint agency, so we'd coordinate even closer than others at times. But yeah, same process. Yeah.
Okay. I know when I was serving on the town board, I appreciated all of the recommendations. Thank you so much. Okay.
All right, before we get into data centers, I screwed up, Dave Knapp's not going to like this. I screwed up a little because usually I figure out how many days until the Lafayette Apple Festival. I don't know that, but I can tell you there's 83 days until Labor Day and the unofficial end of summer.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So data centers.
There we go.
Next one. So data centers are obviously, they're causing a lot of consternation, rightfully so, a lot of concern being raised. And as they continue to, they're starting to make their first peek into Onondaga County and upstate New York. A lot of it's controlled by the state in terms of the energy. I mean, the state has to approve the energy that's needed for those. But one of the things I thought generally in its coldest terms, data centers, we'd work off a common definition. They're large, physical, highly secure structures that house thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of computers, networks, servers. They are large in scale, modular, they're highly efficient, they're automated, they're globally connected, and they're evolving too as a facility. And they are used for cloud services, search engines, social media platforms, video streaming, e-commerce, enterprise software, AI. And I feel guilty saying this, they're used for everything I probably do daily in my life. If I purchase something off Amazon, if I use ChatGPT to make cute little pictures of my dogs, all of those types of things. If I need a map to go somewhere, all of that's running through a data center somewhere, unfortunately. So I'm probably part of the problem and not part of the solution in that sense. Next. So far in Onondaga County, we've had the towns of Clay. Clay has proposed a data center moratorium. DeWitt, Lysander, Manlius, Salina, and Van Buren have passed moratoriums, and the town of Skaneateles has outright banned data centers. So that gives you kind of an idea as to where we are right now.
So when municipalities kind of take on these moratoriums, that's kind of to pause and to study them. And how does that work normally? Is it more like on the municipality to do those studies on their own, or is there collaboration?
There's probably a little bit of both. I mean, and with an issue like data centers, I think it's going to be tough for any municipality in Onondaga County or any county in upstate New York to really take on the breadth and depth of understanding data centers, their impact, their impact on everything from wastewater. I mean, take electric out of it because it's a state issue. But wastewater, just the load of water needed, the environmental impacts and considerations, all that. Most municipalities up in upstate New York aren't going to be able to take that on by themselves. But yeah, a lot of moratoriums that get passed in municipalities just wants a pause to be able to come up with some new zoning. The breadth and depth of a data center is much greater than we'd usually see.
Just add, when we started seeing a lot of solar moratoriums happening and same thing with wind, we would see those things starting to come through. We would sort of try and get our research in place so that we could provide sort of a service to municipalities, give them some best practices, and so we know what kind of guidance we can put in our planning board referrals. Typically, we leave those kinds of issues and regulation to the local municipalities and let them regulate themselves, but we try and provide a service and information sharing with them to try and give them some of the research and best practices that we're finding to try and help them along where they need help, just on a voluntary basis.
Okay.
Have the county, been consulted with any of these moratoriums? Like, are they happening?
They've all come to the planning board.
Okay. And
We've offered no position.
no position. That was my question. Thank you.
Next.
I think it makes sense for, as far as the moratoriums phase, step one, but having every town, not little town, but every town do their own study would be an incredible duplication of effort, waste of money. So it makes sense that maybe I'm jumping ahead.
It's a perfect lead-in, Legislator Knapp.
You're welcome.
But yeah, and one of the things that, on Monday, the county executive announced that Onondaga County was going to take a comprehensive study of data center development. This seeks to proactively establish a planning and evaluation framework that balances economic opportunity, environmental stewardship, quality of life considerations, all of that. The task force that's going to oversee that study includes the Office of Economic Development, the Office of the Environment, WEP, Aqua, the Department of Health, and the Department of Planning. And he wants it done quickly. So the timeline is to have it done in less than 6 months. We're currently working on an RFP to get out the door to hire a consultant to assist us in those efforts, and we should be able to get that out next week. So what's the purpose? Next. Yeah, the purpose is, like I said, it's to develop a comprehensive understanding of the impacts and opportunities associated with data centers, to establish best policies, recommendations for evaluating these proposals going into the future, create consistent standards and evaluation criteria that can be utilized countywide, and to support municipalities in reviewing data center proposals through technical engineering and planning assistance. And when the county executive talked about the $500,000 price tag, that isn't all to pay for a study. That is maybe $250,000 or $300,000 to pay for a study, and another couple $100,000 to assist municipalities who need help with technical engineering, those types of activities. And the tasks, the 5 essential tasks we're looking to undertake in the data center study are existing conditions assessment to evaluate current conditions and infrastructure throughout Onondaga County, specific to the development of data centers, an impact analysis that analyzes the potential impacts associated with data centers across the breadth and depth of the water and wastewater capacities, noise generation, aesthetics, air quality, and environmental considerations and quality of life, and our regulatory and best practices, where we conduct a comprehensive review of data center planning and regulatory approaches, mainly throughout the Northeast. So it captures kind of like markets, like locations, like cities, like counties. And part of this is also a site suitability analysis. Are there sites in Onondaga County that could work for a data center if a municipality ultimately wanted to look at a data center? And some of these are former industrial sites. Some of these are brownfield sites that could be cleaned up to a degree to allow data centers. We're not advocating for that. This is a very agnostic study that's really just looking at compiling the information, but that is part of it. It's kind of looking at site suitability. And then developing a policy and development framework to prepare recommendations for model zoning provisions, site design standards, noise mitigation measures, and environmental performance standards. Now, I'm one of those idiots in life who read the comments, right, after something comes out. And I've done it for years. Some of them are funny, some of them are mean, some of them are whatever. But, so I read all the comments after the county executive. So let me just give a few points on what the study further is and is not. This is not a pro-data center study. It is an effort to gather, evaluate, and synthesize available information in an objective manner, so that local governments can make informed decisions. I mean, I don't think we can rely on every municipality in Onondaga County to undertake a study like this at the cost of it. So this is really to gather the information, synthesize it, and provide it to them so they can use it in local decision making. This study does not provide funding for data center infrastructure development. The purpose of the study is to conduct a comprehensive review of available research, industry practices, historical data, etc. Our goal is to develop through a thorough understanding of both opportunities and challenges of data centers, and understand that, identify best practices, establish consistent review criteria, and provide municipalities with reliable planning tools. And let's not forget, municipalities are on the front line of this. No matter what each of us thinks sitting at this table, we don't make those decisions. We are a home rule state, and that's going to provide the framework going forward. So it's going to be up to a local government and a local government official and local government board to determine what they want to do with data centers. What we want to do is be able to give them the tools they need, the information they need, the analysis they need, so they can make the best decisions they can make going forward. We're not here to tell them one way or another necessarily, yay for data centers or nay for data centers. It's really just to provide them with the tools they need and the information they need. And there's also going to be, as we go through this, a fair amount of public outreach effort. And, we'll certainly advertise that. We'll contact all of you to help us with advertising that, to really get the word out, because we also want to hear from the public, obviously, and address their concerns, mitigate their concerns any way we can, and understand their concerns, just like we want to understand data centers in general. That's kind of the whole idea of the data center study in a nutshell.
Test. Okay. Thank you for doing this. I do want to, officially thank the county executive taking lead on this, because, like you said, having the municipalities deal with such an issue, that's a recipe for disaster. Just, they don't have the resources like we do. The study, once completed, will it be made public, or will it just be given to the municipalities?
We're going to hide it in a filing cabinet.
Please don't, because I'll find that filing cabinet.
It'll be public.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I know this is pretty new, but can you talk a little bit more about the task force and the vision for the task force?
I mean, the task force includes, everybody who's really going to be involved in the ultimate decision-making process. The water and wastewater being the biggest. So you have Aqua, you have WEP, you have the Office of the Environment to take into consideration a lot of the environmental concerns, obviously planning. The idea is just to guide the study, work with the consultant, work on the public outreach efforts, and et cetera.
Is there any way we could put more like a public resident or even specifically the town of Lysander? I know they're dealing with this very in a real way. I don't know if they could have representation on that. And they're also like looking at creating their own task force. I don't know how that's working.
We're actually, the planning department's represented as is the county executive's office, I believe. But yes, I mean, we can certainly take a look at expanding, whether it's truly part of the task force or an advisory capacity to the task force. Yeah, we can definitely take a look at that.
I think as part of the state's moratorium, did they say they're going to do a study as well? How do we coordinate with that? Copy shamelessly?
Yeah, we're going to be going, I'm assuming we're going to be going on a more rapid pace than the state. But yeah, the goal is certainly, I think DEC is going to head up that. So we can certainly talk to Dareth and talk to folks at DEC to make sure we're on top of what they're encompassing in that. I mean, they're going to have to take a more global approach to New York State as a whole. So they're not going to break it down to each municipality like we want to, or really down to a more minute level. But yeah, we'll definitely coordinate with DEC.
And with that moratorium, we still need to wait to see if the governor signs that
Very true.
into.
That's
Right, let's agree.
Since we obviously don't even have a consultant yet, so I'm probably getting ahead of this to think about the information that will be provided to them. But will there be opportunities to make sure the consultant is fully aware of the scope of growth that we're anticipating over the next 8 or so years? And I'm specifically thinking of, ensuring that they know exactly how much water Micron's going to need when they come online, and that there'll be an opportunity to make sure that they're aware of how much water Micron is going to need, so that we know what, if anything, may be left over for data centers.
Short answer, yes.
Okay.
I mean, to really do a comprehensive planning study, you need to provide them with all of the information, historical and going into the future, that you're aware of. So yeah, we will give them everything we can.
good to have Aqua at the table.
Absolutely.
I see.
Troy, Megan, thanks. I guess the first thing I want to say is, I applaud the county executive for committing to doing this and to bringing all the stakeholders together to get our arms around this as a community, because the reality, as Legislator Brown just mentioned, local municipalities are not equipped, not equipped, they're not funded. And I think the scope within any local municipality of what's being talked about here, in just the case of Lysander, and it won't be the only one, there'll be others, it is so big that I think it's great the county's taking the point. And it also leads me kind of toward where Legislator Knapp was going a minute ago with the state study. I'm glad to hear that we're intending to move on a more rapid pace. My personal experience with emerging technologies, okay, especially like in the farmland protection area where we're trying to keep good soils in production and things like that. And what we've seen over the years is these emerging technologies, use solar as an example. Local municipalities are fighting the good fight, but ill-prepared from a planning and zoning standpoint to control what's happening. And more importantly, to ensure that the intent of what was happening actually occurs. And by that I mean connecting these things to the grid, and then making sure that these things are compatible with the local community. Private landowners have a right to do with what they wish with their land, provided it's compatible with the community, right? That's your role. But in this case, I think my biggest concern is that the overarching regulation isn't going to keep up with us. So I'm getting to a question, and the question is, what do you envision their focus to be, the state, its focus to be? What do you envision their priorities to be? Obviously, downstate and in certain parts of New York, There are a lot of data centers already, but they're small and they're unobtrusive, and in many cases, you wouldn't know they're there. We're not talking about that in Onondaga County right now. So, do you think it's going to be a priority? Do you think that they're thinking globally? What do you envision from them?
From the state?
Yeah.
Let me preface this by saying, because I'm going to give you a somewhat cynical answer. I spent 13 years working for the New York State Legislature. I spent another 13 years working for the state, mainly at the state fair, but we undertook a lot of studies. I don't have a lot of expectation from the state. I mean, they're going to do a study and they're going to get somebody on board and it's going to take time. And I've never found anything in the state that moves quickly. I mean, I hope their priorities are where our priorities are, but on a more global level, looking at New York State as a whole. But I think, well, we'll try to coordinate with them. I mean, we're going to move at our own level because our concern on a very parochial level is Onondaga County and the town of Lysander and the other towns that could or would or may face pressure from data centers. So I don't hold out a lot of hope for the study at the state level. I mean, I hope it becomes something, but.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, go ahead, Legislator Rep.
Stupid question, but I want to ask it on record to get a clear answer. We are Onondaga County, first and foremost, that's us. However, data centers, the scale goes beyond. If the town of Fulton or the town of Casanova reached out, would we be able to give them the information of it or at least consult with them, given the scale of these projects?
I don't think we'd hang up on them. I mean, yeah, I think.
You would take the call. Yes, sir.
And with that too, like the more we put out there, the more other people can look at it.
And listen, yeah, and to your point about is this report going to be public? I mean, there's a great report from Prince George's County, Maryland that was completed. That's online, and I've used it as a great resource to read over and look at. And they did a fantastic public outreach effort. And they did a study based on not saying no to them. They did the study based on we're facing a reality here, so we have to deal with that reality. And how do we deal with it, taking into account all of the environmental and quality of life considerations and the massive amount of public comment they got. So yeah, I mean, our hope is we'd also be used as a resource.
And just to circle back on the state law too, I just wanted to add that the legislation that they did pass is like what they're kind of looking into would require utilities to establish an independent classification for service for the large data centers, set energy efficient goals for data centers, and provide benefits for host communities. So that's kind of what that law entails, just to put that out there. But again, we need to wait to see if the governor will sign that bill. Legislator Meeker.
Thank you. What was the name of the study out of Maryland?
Prince George's County Qualified Data Center Study, I think it's called. I can send you a copy of it, actually.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Troy.
Yeah, go ahead.
You send it to the legislature.
Absolutely. I'll send it. Absolutely.
I've always thought for years that, we're blessed with water, and it's kind of our ace up our sleeve. With all the other challenges we have that. So we're going to be a target for these down the road. Any thoughts, throwing a little wild card in here, any thoughts on including battery storage centers in the study? Again, another thing a lot of our communities are being approached about, and can have environmental impacts, yada, yada, yada. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, so, and I've looked into this a little bit. The state has studied this and have taken a pretty proactive look at that and have updated our fire code based on those projects as well. So I think this would be two different things in this instance.
Yeah, a lot of municipalities have already updated their regs for battery storage. Yeah, the state fire code is
A little simpler problem.
a little bit.
So I have a question on the funding for your current budget in 2026, looking at 2027. I know the county executive mentioned that this would be already in your current budget, but I wanted to make sure where that fund's coming from, I guess.
It is going to come from through the money that was allocated for planning grants.
So like the comprehensive plan kind of stuff.
And we still have over $1 million.
Okay.
Unspent money.
Okay, so this one in a grant fund. Okay. Any other questions? I think, again, making sure that the public is involved. I don't know if the RFP can include that in the consultant study, saying that, there should be a public process for the public to give comment or be involved.
Generally, the RFP requires a proposal to include kind of a look at how are you going to engage the public, what's the schedule for community engagement, and what tools are you going to use.
Let me just check, because I have, we've gone over the RFP potentially next week. Will that be posted?
Yes.
Okay. And many residents are also concerned with incentives. I know this is more economic development's purview, but would that be considered into the study or in this task force of these large projects?
It'll probably come up just almost organically into the study when we look at what other municipalities are doing. I mean, if you just look at pilots, and I'm not the economic development guy here, so I'll talk just enough to get myself in trouble. When you look at the
He's right back.
I thought you'd left by now.
We can do.
I have nothing else to say, really.
Would you like to take the question? Would you like to take the question, or? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Almost got out without getting into trouble.
Can you introduce yourself and your title?
So a couple of things. One, as I was listening to this conversation, each and every project that will come. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Yes, no problem. I'm Bob Petrovich. I'm Deputy County Executive for Economic Development and Planning, and also Executive Director of the IDA, at least for a little while longer. So each project is going to have to go through seeker, right? So there'll be a environmental review done with respect to the requirements of seeker for each and every project that will be brought forward. I think this process and this conversation about this RFP is about understanding what data centers are, how they work, how they affect communities, and basically deriving some factual information about the pros and cons of data center experiences across the state and beyond. With respect to the IDA, and incentives, every project will be brought forward and looked at if they're inclined to do an application for incentives. The IDA will certainly, like any other project we've ever done, will look at it and discuss whether or not there are merits to the project, and would the project, again, we have a but-for provision, would the project happen but for the incentives? And that's certainly a critical question as part of that conversation. So.
Thank you. And there's definitely the public comment is already kind of built into that process.
Yeah, with every project, as you know, there is a public hearing process that, with respect to there'll be two public hearings, right? There's the seeker component of that, but then the IDA has a public hearing relative to incentives that are being contemplated for a project, so the public gets to weigh in on that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, I think, any other questions? Okay, I think we're good. Thank you so much for coming and explaining this. Oh, I did have a little wrap up. Again, I wanted to make sure people know, like, the county cannot pass a moratorium to prevent these projects. That's up to cities, towns, and villages. As far as I understand, a moratorium is a temporary action. Local municipalities can only pass moratoriums for so much time. The purpose of the moratoriums is to take that time to study and to address those impacts. Municipalities will need to decide what their community would like to do. But in this case, we know these projects are not just a small impact. With the resources they use, there is a regional impact, and with local municipalities' budgets and resources already tight, the county is taking a good step here by providing a county-wide study to look at the impacts. If our area could even handle a project like these, especially with Micron coming here, which will have a very big impact on our resources already. With the county resources, municipal municipal and public involvement. I'll be following the process very closely and look forward to the county to providing the tools to our local municipalities that they will need when considering any of these projects in the future. Thank you. Chairwoman.
Just clarify, if any public does want to make suggestions or comments or otherwise related to this study, where should we be gathering those? Should we direct them to legislature at onondaga.gov and we can share with you, or would you like them to come directly to you?
I would prefer if they came directly to me.
Okay, can you, just for the record, say what email that would be?
Troy Waffner, TroyWaffner at ongov.gov. Troy Waffner.
Troy Waffner, TroyWaffner at onondaga.gov.
Ongov.gov.
It changed.
Oh, did it really? Oh.
Onondaga.gov.
We'll make sure you have it before you leave. Yes, yeah.
It'll also be listed on the minutes for anyone who didn't get it down.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, our last item, we have Chairwoman wants to discuss the budget process this year.
Deputy County Executive also wanted to highlight that you can go to the planning website where you can find all of their contact information. Thank you. Okay, excellent. All right. Hello, everyone. Here to talk budget time. Several of you heard me give this spiel yesterday, but just a briefer on where we're headed. So the county executive branch is working right now on their pro forma budget and at the departmental levels. As many of you, hopefully all of us at this point, are aware, that official budget season will launch on September 15th, according to our charter. The county executive will be coming over to present the budget the executive branch is bringing to the legislature. And then we will go into departmental reviews. This year, we are going to do things a little bit differently. For those departmental reviews, we're going to have a set-aside time for a joint committee meeting between both in this case, the Planning and Economic Development Committee, alongside of the Ways and Means Committee, to hear the budget presentations of all of the departments that are under the purview of this committee, partially grounded in that you all have been hearing these updates about what the different departments do, and have hopefully a more intimate understanding of the department's needs and be able to ask even more informed questions because of that. So we'll be having the presentations take place on a half day that you all will be scheduled with the Ways and Means Committee to do a joint committee meeting. This will be in September. In that week, there's 2 weeks of presentations and meetings right after that 15th date. So just make sure you've got that on your calendar. And then after that, you will have a regular Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting for any business that comes over from the county executive's office. And one of the items on that agenda will also be budget discussion for all the departments that are under the Planning and Economic Development Committee. You have each been matched with some budgets according to your committees. The idea in that is for you to be a point person who's just delving deeper into those different departments, not just when the budget comes out, but in advance, so that we can kind of be thoughtful. The budget season comes in rapid fire with a lot of information coming at us. So the hope is that each of us would familiarize ourselves with those different departments. And then if I or anyone else has a question, I can come to Erickson and say, can you tell me more about X that you're delving deeper in if you happen to ask this question, and kind of run point on some of those things as we all try to work together to do the lift, to do the due diligence that we need to do to be prepared for and work our way through budget season. After the committees discuss the budget, you will be equipping, in this case, your committee chair, Legislator Denton, to then bring suggested amendments, cuts, or contingencies for any of the departments that are related to the Planning and Economic Development Committee to Ways and Means. in an effort to inform their process, and then it will go the more traditional way where Ways and Means takes all of those kinds of thoughts from the different committees and their own sentiments and perspectives and puts together the Ways and Means report that gets sent to the county executive. So that is how we are planning that. I have a schedule that is drafted. It will be going out in email by the end of this week to everyone for us to get that finalized and get everyone organized, along with verifying which departments folks have been matched up with according to your committee assignments. Any questions, thoughts, or concerns? Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no additional business, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? David Erickson. Okay, all in favor? Okay, the meeting has been adjourned at 12:02, and we will reconvene on Wednesday, July 15th at 11.